Universalism was integral to Judith Sargent Murray's life. Even before she met John Murray, she was learning about Universalism through her aunt and her father, and then, of course, more when John Murray arrived in Gloucester. This was a time when the established Congregational Church was still espousing the rather dark and dreary tenets of Calvinism. Universalists rejected Calvinism in favor of a loving God, in favor of each one of us fulfilling God's plan for us, in favor of a universal family of man, as they said, and in the possibility of life in the world beyond for everyone, and not just the select wealthy few. Universalism permeates Judith Sargent Murray's letters, and we really learn quite a bit about what was going on through her letters. And of course, that's a great segue to John Murray, who is considered the founder of organized Universalism in America. He settled in Gloucester in 1774, and he and Judith she was his congregant, and they were friends and colleagues long before they were able to be married. And her letters document his arrival in Gloucester, threats to his ministry. I love this pamphlet, Mr. Murray Unmasked, in which the evils of Universalism are revealed. He was very threatening to the established clergy. So her letters document threats to his ministry, the court cases that ensued, which led to the Universalists securing the first ruling for freedom of religion in this country. They document his travels, where he went to organize Universalist societies. And we also know from her letters that Judith was very involved in teaching theology to the Universalist children in Gloucester, which led to her catechism, which is the earliest published writing by an American Universalist woman in America. Now, in the absence of 18th century videotape, she provides some of the only eyewitness accounts of John Murray as a preacher. And I sort of call him the Martin Luther King Jr. of his day, because he was apparently just incredibly charismatic and dynamic and really drew people to him. So I'm just going to read you this one excerpt from when he preached in New Jersey. Judith wrote, "Not a single person left the grove. The serious attention in such a place and from such a throng, made up of people of all descriptions and in such circumstances, was indeed surprising. The clouds soon broke. It had been raining. The clouds soon broke. The azure sky appeared. Sunbeams began to play, and the birds chanted melodiously. In his own animated, energetic, and devout manner, the preacher proceeded, and every countenance confessed the most solemn attention. The rustling of the leaves, the singing of the birds were not heard, or heard only as adding to the beauty of the scene. During the intermission of the services of the day, scarce a person quitted the romantically enchanting spot, and the preacher, having stepped aside, I listened in enraptured silence to the various comments. Serious investigation was now abroad. Light seemed more than dawning upon the assembly, and I was particularly happy to hear an old man, utterly deprived of his natural sight, evinced by his remarks that he clearly saw the things which made for his peace. One aged black man, in the midst of the discourse, softly exclaimed to a bystander, 'Blessed God, is there then redemption for a poor slave, as well as for his more happy master?'" Now, what's interesting to me about that is the diversity of that crowd that's listening to John Murray, the fact that she overheard this comment, and the fact that she related this comment. And in fact, the Universalists were one of the earliest organized groups in America to officially, publicly condemn slavery, which they did before George Washington in 1790. Judith Sargent Murray's letters also follow the process of creating these two very important early Universalist works. This is John Murray's Letters and Sketches of Sermons, which she helped him complete after he had had a stroke and was virtually immobilized. He never wrote down anything he preached, and so she helped him write down and finish this book, even though he was completely bedridden. And then after his death, she edited the autobiography he had stopped writing in 1774, and she completed it. And this is again one of the most important works in Universalist history. And of course, her letters document John Murray, the man, and their love story, which really was one of the greatest American love stories in history. From when she first told him that they would mingle souls upon paper, because she was a married woman, he was her minister. She said, "We will mingle souls upon paper." She then finally confessed to her aunt, Mary Turner Sargent, that she felt for no other la belle passion. And then the letters document their 27-year marriage after their 14-year friendship. And we see John as preacher and organizer, husband, father, gardener, protector of small birds, his many kindnesses, her concern for his safety, and then, of course, what it was like when he was an invalid after his stroke, his death, and we learned that, in fact, Judith wanted to die in Boston and be buried near him and not in Natchez, Mississippi.